You are about to witness the complete and irreversible demolition of the most carefully constructed celebrity narrative of the 21st century. And I need you to pay very close attention, because the information I am about to share is not speculation. It is not gossip. It is a forensic accounting of a trap that is closing from so many directions simultaneously that even the most sophisticated public relations machine on the planet can no longer outrun the truth. The Department of Homeland Security has refused to release the immigration records of Prince Harry. And that refusal, that stonewall silence from the very agency that decides who gets to live in the United States and who gets sent home, is now the subject of a legal and political firestorm that you are not hearing about from the celebrity press. The man who has spent 7 long, obsessive, and utterly fearless years following the threads that every other mainstream journalist refused to even acknowledge, let alone pull, has just said something on the record that cannot be unsaid, cannot be retracted, and cannot be spun. Tom Bower, the author whose explosive book Power, Deceit, and the Fight for the Future of the Royal Family turned the entire Sussex narrative on its head and left the palace reeling, is no longer hinting behind carefully worded paragraphs. He is no longer suggesting things through diplomatic language. He is now openly, directly, and categorically stating on the record that the walls are closing in on Meghan Markle from multiple directions simultaneously, and that the forces converging on her are not the ones she ever anticipated. And please understand, these forces are not just coming from the usual suspects, the tabloid reporters with their long lenses or the royal commentators with their YouTube channels. They are coming from the Internal Revenue Service, the most feared financial enforcement agency in the history of the Western world. From the United States immigration authorities, who hold the power to revoke residency with a single stroke of a pen, to child services investigators who operate in the shadows and whose inquiries are never announced until they are complete, and even to a mainstream media apparatus that has, until very recently, given Meghan Markle a level of protection so extreme and all-encompassing that it frankly defies any rational explanation. This is not a hit piece. This is not anonymous speculation. This is a careful, detailed, and painstaking examination of everything that Tom Bower has put on the official record, everything that serious and credentialed researchers have been piecing together behind the scenes for years, and everything that is now, right now, in this moment in May 2026, beginning to surface in ways that can no longer be controlled, suppressed, or explained away with a carefully worded press statement issued from behind the gates of a Montecito mansion. So, I'm asking you to stay with me, because what follows is going to completely and permanently change the way you see this entire story. And once you understand how all of these seemingly separate pieces fit together into a single devastating picture, you will never look at the Sussex saga the same way again. Let us begin with the money problem, because money is always where the truth lives, buried beneath the public relations spin like a skeleton under a marble floor. Tom Bower has been saying this loudly and with relentless precision for over 2 years now. And at the time, I remember it clearly, many people dismissed his warnings as the bitter commentary of a man with an axe to grind. A man who simply could not accept that a modern biracial American woman had revitalized the stuffy British monarchy. I need you to look at where we are today, right now, in the spring of 2026. Look at what has happened to every single revenue stream that the Sussexes built their entire post-royal life around, and then ask yourself a very uncomfortable question. Was Tom Bower wrong about a single thing? A single prediction or a single financial forecast? The Netflix deal, that multi-year, multi-million-dollar partnership that was supposed to generate prestige, cultural relevance, and serious, life-changing money, is gone. Not paused, not renegotiated, gone. A relationship that was announced with champagne toasts and carefully staged photographs of the couple standing beside Ted Sarandos has effectively collapsed into nothing. The documentary series that was supposed to be their magnum opus, the follow-up projects, the animated series, and the grand vision of building an entire media empire from the sun-drenched gardens of a California mansion, all of it has evaporated like morning fog. Because, as Tom Bower pointed out with the forensic precision of a surgeon, Meghan Markle simply had nothing new to offer. And I am going to read you Bower's exact assessment because it is so brutally accurate that it deserves to be heard in full. She had nothing to offer other than smiling with a lot of non-entities. Those words are harsh. They are cutting, and they are demonstrably accurate when you examine the output. Look at the numbers, because numbers do not lie, and they do not care about your feelings. The Spotify deal, which was reportedly worth tens of millions of dollars, an astronomical sum for a podcast, was arguably even more catastrophic in its collapse. The world waited, and what did it receive in return for all of that investment and all of that hype? 13 episodes of a podcast. A single-season podcast, just 13 episodes, was ultimately deemed unworthy of continuation by the streaming giant itself, a company that desperately wanted the partnership to succeed for its own commercial reasons. When Spotify, a corporation known for throwing enormous amounts of money at content in the hope of finding an audience, walks away from a deal of that magnitude, it is not a minor business setback that can be smoothed over with a carefully worded press release. It is a public, permanent, and utterly damning verdict on your commercial viability, a verdict that every other potential partner in the entertainment industry reads and remembers. Then there is the jam. Yes, the jam. American Riviera Orchard, Meghan Markle's lifestyle brand, was launched with enormous and carefully orchestrated fanfare. There were perfectly lit photographs of her in a wide-brimmed hat arranging flowers, celebrity gifting campaigns that sent jars of strawberry preserves to influencers with handwritten notes, and a meticulously crafted image of domestic elegance and effortless California chic. And then, after all of that noise, after all of that marketing expenditure, almost nothing. The jam is not selling. The brand is flopping. The lifestyle empire that was supposed to transform Meghan Markle into the next Martha Stewart, a domestic goddess for the 21st century, is struggling to generate the kind of commercial momentum that would justify even a fraction of the hype surrounding its launch. And here is the number, the cold, hard, terrifying number that Tom Bauer keeps returning to with the persistence of a man who knows he has found the loose thread that could unravel the entire garment. Their lifestyle, the baseline cost of existing as the Duke and Duchess of Sussex in the manner to which they have become accustomed, costs a minimum of £3 million. £3 million per year after tax. 3 million. Let that number sit in your mind for a moment. That is not the ceiling, that is the floor. That is the absolute minimum required just to maintain the Montecito mansion with its 16 bedrooms, infinity pool, and manicured gardens. It covers the private security detail that costs more than most people earn in a decade, the household staff, the international travel, the designer wardrobe, the carefully staged public appearances, and everything else that goes into performing the role of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex for a global audience that is becoming increasingly bored and increasingly hostile. Think about that number again. £3 million per year, minimum, after tax, just to tread water. Now add the cost of launching a commercial brand from scratch, the marketing, the production, the lawyers. Add the cost of the legal teams engaged in endless, grinding battles with British tabloids, battles that generate headlines but no income. Add the cost of the public relations professionals who work around the clock to manage a narrative that keeps threatening to collapse under the weight of its own contradictions. Add the cost of the travel, the private jets, the five-star hotels, and the entourage that befits people who still insist on being treated as royalty, even though they walked away from the institution that gave them that status and then publicly eviscerated it on global television. The real number, the actual annual expenditure of the Sussex household, is almost certainly far higher than £3 million, perhaps double or even triple that figure once you account for all of the hidden costs that never make it into the public balance sheet. And against that colossal, ever-growing expenditure, I want you to ask yourself a very simple question. What is actually coming in? The Netflix deal is gone. The Spotify deal is gone. The jam is not moving. The podcast is finished. The podcast was cancelled. The speaking fees, those enormous checks that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle once commanded for appearing on stage at corporate events and telling their story, are drying up faster than a puddle in the California sun. Because you simply cannot charge premium rates, the kind of fees required to sustain a £3 million annual lifestyle, when your approval rating is sitting at 20%, a number I will return to later. And brand partners who once clamored for a Sussex association are now running in the opposite direction as fast as their communications teams can carry them. The Sussex financial picture, as Tom Bower has been documenting with the quiet relentlessness of a master investigator who knows exactly where the bodies are buried, is not just concerning. It is not merely a temporary cash flow problem. It is a full-blown liquidity crisis unfolding in real time. And the people who understand high finance are looking at the gap between the visible lifestyle and the provable income, and they are asking questions that cannot be answered with a wellness blog post. Now ask yourself the question that Tom Bower has been asking loudly and publicly for 2 years, a question that cuts to the very heart of the American legal system. When your income dries up entirely, but your spending does not even slow down, when you continue to live like a billionaire while your revenue streams collapse one after another, who comes knocking on your door in the United States of America? That question has a very specific and very frightening answer, and its name is the Internal Revenue Service. The calls for a formal IRS investigation into the finances of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex are not coming from fringe bloggers operating out of their basements. They are coming from serious people, forensic accountants, tax attorneys, and former federal prosecutors who understand exactly how American tax law works, who know the red flags that trigger an audit, are looking at the enormous gap between the reported income of the Sussexes and the visibly extravagant lifestyle they display to the world. And they are asking serious, legitimate, and potentially criminal questions. When the numbers do not add up, the IRS notices. It is programmed to notice. It is designed to notice. And when the numbers fail to add up for not 1, but 2 consecutive tax years, while you are living in a multi-million-dollar estate, flying on private jets, and maintaining a staff of dozens, the IRS does not simply notice. It does not just send a politely worded letter. It investigates, and it investigates with the kind of methodical, implacable, and utterly terrifying thoroughness that has brought down mob bosses, billionaires, and even presidents. Tom Bower called this. He saw it coming from miles away while everyone else was still applauding the celebrity wedding and buying commemorative mugs. He said, and I want you to really hear these words because they were prophetic, they are rapidly burning through their cash, and they do not know how they are going to keep funding this lavish lifestyle. That was his assessment more than 2 years ago, delivered in interviews that some people mocked as the rantings of a jealous old man. But look at where things stand right now. He was right then with less evidence than we have now. He is right now with more evidence than any reasonable person needs. And the financial questions surrounding the Sussexes, the uncomfortable, unanswered questions about where the money comes from and where it goes, are not fading away. They are intensifying with every passing week. And the people asking those questions are no longer just journalists. They are federal agencies with subpoena power. But I need you to hold that thought, the image of an IRS auditor flipping through the Sussex bank statements, because the financial collapse is only the first wall closing in. And what I am about to tell you about the visa situation is so legally explosive that it makes the IRS look like a parking ticket. Now let us talk about the visa question that simply will not die, the story that the mainstream American media, with its deep and long-standing connections to the entertainment industry that Meghan Markle once called home, has been extraordinarily and conspicuously reluctant to pursue with any genuine rigor. Prince Harry's United States visa. This is not a complicated matter. American immigration law, as codified in the Immigration and Nationality Act, is not ambiguous on this point. Drug use, specifically the use of controlled substances classified as hard drugs under federal law, is a clear, explicit, and absolute ground for visa denial and visa revocation. It is one of the clearest, most consistently enforced, and most mercilessly applied provisions in the entire United States immigration framework. And it has been applied to thousands upon thousands of ordinary people who made mistakes far smaller than the ones Prince Harry proudly documented in his own words. Yet Prince Harry, in his own memoir, in words that he personally wrote and later recorded in his own voice for the globally distributed audiobook version, openly, explicitly, and in considerable, almost boastful detail admitted to using cocaine. He admitted to using cannabis. He admitted to using magic mushrooms. He described these experiences with the casual, entitled air of a man who has never faced a single meaningful consequence for any of his actions. And he did so without the slightest apparent awareness that he was effectively handing a loaded weapon to his critics. He was effectively handing a weapon to every immigration enforcement lawyer in the country. Let me be direct with you about why this matters so much. Because the double standard here is so vast and so offensive that it should make every American furious. Thousands of ordinary, hardworking, law-abiding people who want nothing more than to build a life in the United States are denied visas every single year for far less than what Prince Harry admitted in Spare. People who disclose a single drug-related incident, a minor possession charge from 20 years ago, or a youthful mistake they have long since atoned for often find themselves blocked from entering the country, separated from their families, their careers destroyed, and their dreams shattered. The United States immigration system applies its rules with considerable thoroughness, and in many cases with an absence of mercy that is chilling to witness. So the question being asked, not just by critics of Prince Harry, but by immigration lawyers, legal analysts, and former consular officers who have examined his situation with professional detachment, is very simple and very devastating. Is there one rule for ordinary people, the people who wait in line, fill out the forms honestly, and still get rejected, and another entirely different rule for a British prince residing in a Montecito mansion with powerful friends in the Democratic Party? And if that is the case, which it manifestly appears to be, then why? And how long can that arrangement, that sweetheart deal with American justice, possibly be sustained in a political environment that is becoming increasingly vocal and increasingly hostile toward exactly that kind of elite double standard? Tom Bauer highlighted this hypocrisy with the kind of quiet, devastating precision that has made him one of the most feared and respected investigative authors working today. Tom Bauer pointed out a crucial detail that many commentators continue to overlook. Prince Harry did not write this incriminating material in a private journal that was later leaked. He wrote it for publication. He edited it. He approved the final manuscript. And then he read every single word aloud, endorsing his own admissions on the record in his unmistakable voice for global distribution on Audible and every other major platform. Tom Bauer's assessment of what this revealed about Prince Harry as a person, about his judgment and self-awareness, was characteristically blunt. A complete lack of self-awareness, a total failure to understand reality, and the behavior of a schoolboy who did not comprehend the damage he was inflicting upon himself. But here is what makes this situation genuinely extraordinary from a legal standpoint, and what keeps immigration lawyers discussing it over whiskey late into the night. Under United States immigration law, what Prince Harry admitted in Spare should, at minimum, have been sufficient grounds for a visa review, a formal inquiry into his eligibility, and potentially, in any normal case not involving a politically connected celebrity, visa denial or immediate revocation. And yet, Prince Harry continues to reside in Montecito, California with what appears to be zero consequences, zero transparency, and zero official explanation from the Department of Homeland Security. The Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank with significant legal resources, filed a Freedom of Information Act request seeking access to Prince Harry's visa application, a request that any American citizen has the legal right to make. That request was initially blocked, and the reasons given for the refusal were so vague and procedurally questionable that they only intensified suspicions that something was being hidden. The question of whether special treatment was applied, whether political pressure was brought to bear by the Biden administration or its allies to protect Prince Harry's residency status in a way that would never be extended to an ordinary applicant, continues to fuel enormous controversy. The question of whether an ordinary immigrant who made the same admissions would have received the same treatment has never been properly answered. Tom Bauer has consistently argued, across multiple interviews and in his book, that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle believed the rules simply did not apply to them. According to him, their status, their victimhood narrative, and their powerful connections placed them above the tedious legal requirements that govern the lives of ordinary people. And for years, disturbingly, they appeared to be correct. But the question now being asked louder and louder in April 2026, as the political winds in Washington shift dramatically, is how much longer that immunity can possibly last. Because in America, when the political climate changes, and it has shifted in a direction deeply hostile to this kind of coastal elite exceptionalism, the protection once provided by powerful friends can disappear very quickly, like smoke in a hurricane. Think about what this means practically and concretely for the life that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have constructed. If Prince Harry's visa situation is ever formally investigated by a hostile administration looking for a high-profile scalp, if questions about whether he lied on immigration paperwork or received preferential treatment become the subject of an official inquiry by a congressional committee or federal prosecutor, then the entire structure of the Sussex's American existence could collapse overnight. The Montecito Mansion, California residency, access to American financial institutions and media markets, and even the ability to raise their children as American citizens, all of it depends entirely on Prince Harry being legally entitled to remain in the United States. And that entitlement has always rested on foundations that have never been properly examined, foundations that a single determined investigator could potentially unravel. Shatter with a few well-placed questions. Now, I need to address something that is deeply sensitive, and I am going to do so with the care and responsibility that this topic demands. I understand that questions involving children are among the most sensitive matters in the world, and they should be handled carefully, respectfully, and without sensationalism. But Tom Bower and the serious researchers who have been examining the story for years are not asking irresponsible questions. They are asking questions that emerge from genuine, documented anomalies in the public record. Anomalies that, in April 2026, are becoming harder and harder to ignore, and which a responsible examination of this story simply cannot skip over. There are researchers, not fringe voices operating in the dark corners of the internet, but people who have done extensive, documented, and publicly available work, who have raised consistent, detailed questions about the timeline surrounding the births of Archie and Lilibet. Questions about what was and was not shown publicly after those births, about the level of photographic and documentary access that was, or was not, provided under circumstances that departed significantly, and in some cases startlingly, from every established royal precedent going back generations. When royal babies are born, the protocol is ancient, well-established, and almost never deviated from. The steps of the Lindo wing, the presentation to the press, the formal photographs, all of these have traditionally been part of the process. The Sussex approach to documenting their children's arrivals was different, and the questions about why it was different have never been answered in a way that satisfies the people who closely study these matters. And then there is the age question. Because the age question, which might seem trivial on the surface, adds an entirely different layer of complexity and potential misrepresentation to every other element of this story. Tom Bower's work has been meticulous, almost obsessive, regarding Meghan Markle's biography and the many points at which the official version of her life story appears to strain credibility to its limits. Researchers who have examined her age, working from publicly available records and testimony, have pointed to statements from people who knew her in school, from her own half-sister Samantha Markle, and from other contemporaries who, along with supporting evidence, suggest that Meghan may be significantly older than her official biography states, potentially by as many as 6 years. And Samantha Markle has been specific and consistent about this, and her testimony, whatever one may think of her, deserves to be heard. She has stated clearly and publicly that she was 11 years old in 1975 when the family was still living in Chicago, and that there is no biological way that Meghan could be only 10 years younger than her. She also claims that people at the school where Meghan began pre-kindergarten in the mid-1980s can verify the timeline through independent documentation. Now, why does this matter? Why would Meghan's age be anything more than a biographical footnote or a piece of trivia for a game show? Because the implications extend into everything. If serious researchers are correct, if Meghan is significantly older than her official records suggest, then entire chapters of her public life story begin to look very different. The timeline of her acting career, the timeline of her Mediterranean years, which I will address in a moment, the timeline surrounding the births of her children and the medical feasibility of the official narrative, and the timeline of how she came to be sitting across a candlelit table from Prince Harry at Soho House in 2016. These are questions that deserve answers, not accusations. But they are questions, real, substantive ones. And in April 2026, they are circulating with a speed and in media spaces, including increasingly mainstream outlets, that would have been utterly unthinkable even 2 years ago. The wall of silence is cracking. The Mediterranean years and the engineered meeting. This is the part of the story that Tom Bower has been building toward for years, laying the foundation brick by brick with the patience of a cathedral builder. And it is the part that the mainstream media has been most reluctant to touch, most afraid to acknowledge, until now, when the weight of the evidence is becoming too heavy to ignore. Before Meghan Markle was a minor cable television actress on a show called Suits, before she was a lifestyle blogger posting about avocados and travel, there was a period in her life, her Mediterranean years, her pre-royal phase of social ascent that is now attracting serious, sustained, and professionally conducted attention from researchers, journalists, and investigators. They have been examining photographs, travel records, and testimonies that are gradually surfacing from sources who are no longer willing to stay quiet and protect a woman who has so publicly discarded everyone who ever helped her. Tom Bower has been forensic, almost clinical, about Meghan's ambition, describing it not as a flaw, but as the central defining feature of her personality. His assessment is worth repeating in full: a woman of huge ambition and total ruthlessness, but a woman without much talent. He describes a 5-year-old girl standing on a Hollywood red carpet with her father, tugging at his sleeve and saying, "Daddy, I want to do this. I want to be the star." That ambition did not appear from nowhere in 2016, when a mutual friend supposedly arranged a blind date. It was there from the very beginning, and it drove her decisions. Alliances and associations throughout her adult life are now, one by one, becoming visible in the light. What Tom Bower and other serious researchers are now openly discussing is a pattern that anyone familiar with the upper reaches of the entertainment industry will recognize immediately. Ambitious women who want access to powerful rooms, who want to be seated next to billionaires, producers, and power brokers, have always found ways to get into those rooms. The yacht circuit, the private, unregistered superyachts of wealthy and powerful men that cruise the Mediterranean during the summer months, from the coasts of Spain to the Greek islands, has long been one of those access points. One of the most discreet and effective ways for a young woman with beauty and ambition to network her way into a sphere of influence that her resume alone could never reach. And the claim that Meghan Markle was a guest on multiple such yachts before she ever met Prince Harry, a claim that has circulated in certain media spaces for years and was always dismissed as misogynistic fantasy, is no longer being treated as a fringe allegation that can simply be laughed off. It is now being posed as a direct, pointed question by mainstream media figures with recognizable names and faces, who are specifically asking whether the number of yachts she was a guest on before meeting Prince Harry was in the double or even triple figures. Let that sink in for a moment, because that is a very significant shift in the public conversation. A year ago, that question was being asked only in corners of the internet that mainstream media dismissed as unreliable, as conspiracy theorists and trolls. 6 months ago, it was being raised by royal commentators who were careful to frame it as speculation, rumor, or an unverified allegation. Today, in April 2026, it is being stated as a starting point, not a question of whether she was on those yachts, but a question about the scale of the operation, double figures or triple figures. That is not a question that treats the underlying claim as unproven. That is a question that treats the claim as established fact and instead asks about its magnitude. And the people asking that question are not anonymous bloggers with no accountability. They are recognizable, credentialed figures within the media landscape who clearly believe the evidence has reached a threshold where the question can no longer be deferred, where the silence is more damaging than the truth. And the photographs are part of the reason why. Researchers describe the images with detailed, frame-by-frame analysis, allegedly placing Meghan Markle in specific contexts, on specific vessels, with specific individuals whose names, when connected to hers, raise questions that the official Sussex narrative has never been asked to answer, let alone answer under oath. Tom Bower has documented how much of Meghan's pre-Prince Harry history appears to have been systematically and expertly removed from the internet, scrubbed clean by professionals who knew exactly what they were doing long before the public ever knew who Meghan Markle was. The TIG, her lifestyle blog, was deleted. Social media posts vanished. Photographs were purged. The digital footprint of her life before Prince Harry was sanitized with the thoroughness of a crime scene cleaner. But what was there that needed to be erased so completely? Which brings us to the Soho House meeting, the origin story of the entire Sussex myth. The official narrative is one of the most successful pieces of romantic mythology in modern royal history, and it has been repeated so often in interviews and articles that it has taken on the weight of scripture. Two people meet by chance through a mutual friend. They lock eyes across a crowded room. They fall in love. It is a fairy tale. The end. Except Tom Bower and the serious researchers who have been following this trail for years have been asking a question that no one in the official Sussex camp will answer directly. Was that meeting, in fact, engineered deliberately and carefully by people with serious money, serious connections, and a very specific interest in placing Meghan Markle directly in front of a vulnerable, emotionally available British prince who had publicly declared his desire to find love? The name Marcus Anderson keeps appearing in this context again and again, like a recurring character in a mystery novel. Marcus Anderson, a well-connected and highly networked member of the Soho House circle, has remained extraordinarily, inexplicably, and unshakably close to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle long after virtually everyone else in their social circle has been ghosted, discarded, or publicly denounced. Tom Bower himself has noted, with the eye of a man who understands human behavior, that Meghan is quite ruthless when it comes to dropping and dumping people, then publicly castigating them afterward. She has a very long list of people she has ghosted: former friends, former colleagues, and even family members. So why has Marcus Anderson survived that brutal cull? Why is he still in their orbit, still invited to their gatherings years later, when so many others are gone and unable to speak? That is a question worth sitting with because, in any investigation, whether journalistic or legal, the person who survives the purge is always the most interesting person in the room. Tom Bower versus the narrative. Tom Bower did not just write a book about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. What he did was far more significant and far more dangerous to the Sussex project. He opened a door, a heavy, rusted door that had long been sealed shut by legal threats and public relations intimidation. And through that door, people are now walking, asking the questions that once seemed untouchable. Questions that should have been asked years ago by the very journalists who were instead writing fawning cover stories. Tom Bower's method has always been the same, consistent across decades of investigating figures like Robert Maxwell, Richard Desmond, and Tony Blair. He follows threads. He documents contradictions with the patience of a medieval scribe. He does not accept the official narrative uncritically, and he does not allow discomfort, social pressure, or the threat of legal action to stop him from publishing what his research reveals. His entire career, spanning decades and producing some of the most explosive biographies of the last 50 years, has been built on exactly this approach. A forensic, patient, and fearless examination of powerful people who believe their narrative is too strong, too well-funded, and too well-lawyered to be challenged. And what makes Tom Bower particularly significant in the Sussex story, beyond the quality of his reporting, is that his audience, the people who buy his books, attend his talks, and follow his commentary, agrees with virtually everything he says, almost universally, with one fascinating and telling exception: his suggestion that Catherine, Princess of Wales, the future Queen of England, felt threatened by Meghan Markle. On that single point, the pushback from his own audience was immediate, fierce, almost unanimous, and deeply illuminating. And I think that pushback tells us something profoundly important about the true nature of the dynamic between these two women. Because here is what Catherine, Princess of Wales, actually felt: not threat, not insecurity, not jealousy of a younger, more glamorous rival. What Catherine felt, and what she communicated to those close to her, was fury. The particular cold, quiet fury of someone who earned her position through years of sacrifice, discipline, and restraint, watching another person attempt to take a shortcut straight to the reward without paying any of the cost, without doing a single day of the hard work. Think about what Catherine, Princess of Wales, has done, the life she has chosen, and the sacrifices she has made. She has spent more than a decade doing the patient, invisible, deeply unglamorous work that actually holds an institution like the monarchy together. showing up on cold, rainy Tuesday mornings in Colchester, opening hospital wings in Stockport, sitting through endless school visits and community center openings, doing the kind of work that never makes the front page of a glossy magazine, but forms the absolute foundation of what the monarchy actually is and what it means to the people of the United Kingdom. She sacrificed her privacy, her freedom, and her spontaneity for it. She survived public humiliation, press intrusion so intense it bordered on criminal, and family drama that would have broken a weaker person. And she did it all while maintaining a smile and a grace that made the country love her. She understood, before she was even 20 years old, what it would cost her to marry a prince. And she paid that cost every single day without complaint. Then Meghan Markle arrived and made it absolutely clear, from almost the very first week, that she had zero intention of doing any of that, of paying those dues or participating in the invisible, unglamorous work that sustains the institution. Tom Bower has documented this comprehensively with sourced testimony. Meghan was furious, genuinely furious, that she and Prince Harry were living in a smaller house at Kensington Palace than Catherine, Princess of Wales, and Prince William. And Tom Bower has been explicit about this in multiple interviews. Meghan believed that she, Meghan Markle, the former cable television actress, deserved equal status. She believed she should be the future queen, that she deserved the position that Catherine, Princess of Wales, had spent a decade preparing for with the dedication of a nun. A woman who had been in the royal family for 5 minutes, who did not understand the first thing about the institution or the country, believed she deserved the top spot. That is not a threat. That is an insult. A profound and unforgivable insult. And Catherine, Princess of Wales, who is far more perceptive than the press gives her credit for, saw it for exactly what it was within weeks of meeting Meghan Markle. Not an arrival. Not a breath of fresh air. But a problem. A serious, destabilizing institutional problem dressed in expensive designer clothes and smiling for the cameras. Prince William saw it too, with the instincts of a future king who could spot a threat to the crown from a mile away. He tried to warn Prince Harry. He pulled his brother aside and told him directly, brother to brother, that the relationship was not going to work, that there were things about this woman that Harry was not seeing. But Prince Harry did not listen. He did not want to hear it because, as Tom Bower has made abundantly clear, Harry was caught in a web of his own needs, vulnerabilities, and desperate longing for a maternal figure. And he was determined to marry Meghan Markle for reasons that are becoming clearer with every new piece of evidence that emerges about how the relationship was initiated, cultivated, and ultimately sealed.